Welcome to the Rise Above Project. I'm your host, Joe Perroni. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, champion bodybuilder, and I've been a personal trainer for about 30 years. This podcast is about helping people with their emotional, spiritual, and physical fitness. I value strength, toughness, and truth. I despise complacency, the victim mentality, and following the herd. If you find my work to be valuable, please subscribe to my channel and tell a friend.
Today's show is going to be about the do's and don'ts of dating. I try to make it as gender neutral as possible to help everyone, but I'm a man, so you're going to have to consider the source. This is part 3 of the series on finding a lifelong partner. In the first part, you were given ideas to improve your personal psychology and to move you to being an ideal partner. Part 2 was about developing a strong screening process to narrow down the field and to remain strong while maintaining your boundaries. Today's show is about identifying and implementing dating strategies in order to find a lifelong partner. You only get one chance to make a good first impression. If you are not good at dating and marketing yourself, you are putting yourself at a severe disadvantage. If you want to find a partner for a one-night stand, the formula is so simple that it's probably not worth doing a show on it, and it's definitely not the focus of the Rise Above project. But let me offer this. If you are looking for a one-night stand, you need to look for the most attractive person with the lowest self-esteem. Sometimes you could have high expectations of a person for a long-term relationship, but they disappoint you, and then they put themselves into the category of a one-night stand or a not even once situation. I'll give you an example of that. A long time ago, I was going to meet a girl for dinner at a restaurant. I didn't know her very well, so a dinner date should have given us the time to get to know each other. But the first problem was that she was about 20 minutes late. The second problem is that she brought her phone and spent some of the time texting one of her friends. She was also training to do a fitness show in a few weeks, so she texted her trainer about her diet. Now, being that I'm an experienced trainer and I was a bodybuilding judge for about 10 years, I figured I might be able to answer one of her questions. Turns out that she was trying to, if you can believe this, she was trying to calculate the amount of calories she would need to subtract from her dinner if she was going to perform a sexual act on me where she would swallow some extra calories. Now, as weird as that is for me to even say it, I was the one there, so that was even worse then. So at this point is where I decided that she was not a good candidate for a long-term relationship. And I could have put her in the one-night stand category, but I wasn't looking for that, so I decided not to bother with her at all. So there's a ton of lessons here. Let's go over some. Lesson number 1. Everybody's time is important and should be respected. It's not fashionable and doesn't make anyone look more important by being late. If someone can't make their date a priority on the first date, then it's unlikely that they rate high on the conscientiousness scale. Rating low on conscientiousness takes a potential partner out of the running to be an ideal long-term partner. Number 2, if you need to bring a phone, it should only be for emergencies and it shouldn't be seen by your date. Empirical evidence supports this. In the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships, they studied how the presence of a cell phone influences face-to-face conversational quality. The evidence indicated that just the sight of the phone inhibited the development of interpersonal closeness and trust. Having a cell phone in sight, even if it's not used, still reduces the amount of empathy and understanding each partner has for each other. The results of the studies also revealed that meaningful conversation topics that reliably encourage intimacy and trust of course, under neutral conditions, were absent in the presence of a cell phone. Many times these effects happen outside of conscious awareness. But if you know better, now you should do better. So the take-home message is to make sure your phone isn't conflicting with your communication and connection to your date. And to be clear, don't turn your first date into a menage a trois with your cell phone. Number 3, if you are looking for a long-lasting, mature relationship, you should not be talking about giving oral sex to your date when you barely know them and you haven't even finished your salad yet. That should be self-evident. But I've noticed throughout the years that many women feel that being overly sexual will get them attention. And that's true. But men looking for casual sex look for women who demand attention. Men who want a long-term relationship look for women who demand respect. There's a big difference. The first date should be a chance for both partners to learn about one another in a relatively non-stressful environment. Therefore, dates during the day at a place that is conducive to communication is important. This is not only safe, it also gives both people an exit strategy. I would be hesitant to sit silently with someone I don't know in a dark movie theater for a couple of hours. I can't think of too many other things more uncomfortable and maybe even creepy than that. In looking for a long-term partner, the dating experience is a chance to determine if you connect and can relate with each other. Don't try too hard to impress someone to like you, and don't go outside your comfort zone. It's best to be authentically you instead of trying to create a fantasy that you can't or don't want to live up to. Again, a long time ago, back in the 80s, I was in a interpersonal communications class. The teacher asked us to describe the perfect first date. One male student, who was probably trying to impress the girls in the class, told us his idea of what a date with him would be like. He described wearing his best clothes, borrowing his father's sports car, picking up the girl and taking her to a pricey, fancy French restaurant. And he thought he was probably going to get an A for that. One student, though, said that he didn't have much money or time because he was going to school full-time, and he had a job that didn't pay very well. He was trying to save some money to lower his school debt, and his number one priority was to improve his standing in life. Although he was still interested in having a relationship. So he described a perfect date with him. Because he didn't have to work on Saturday morning, he usually spent that time washing and waxing his car, followed by going to McDonald's. His date was to ask a girl to share this time with him while he went through a normal day, because he couldn't promise anything different on a long-term basis, and he didn't want to lie or give her the wrong impression. Of course, the class laughed because everyone thought he was making a joke, but the teacher praised him for being honest. The message I learned that day about looking for a long-term partner, it is supported by empirical evidence. Couples who stay together can share exciting moments together, obviously, but they also shouldn't need to distract themselves from the basic responsibilities and mundane activities in life. They can enjoy silent moments together and not expect to be entertained all the time. The number one activity aspiring long-term couples need to do well together is not to have sex. It's to be okay while doing nothing. It is prudent to see the dating process as a shared extension of your life. From an existential point of view, there are about 7.5 billion people on the planet, and we are only on Earth for a short time. Our lives as individuals are relatively meaningless, but if someone cares about us and is a witness to our lives, then our lives become meaningful. When we can look back at our life, our memories become more meaningful and real when they are shared life experiences. This is why it is highly suggested to meet people who already share your lifestyle. For example, if health and fitness is important to you, then you should be open to meeting people at the gym or places where you already feel comfortable. If you enjoy a quiet lifestyle and care about your health, then meeting a lifelong partner in a bar at 2 a.m. is highly unlikely. A long time ago, a girl asked me to go to church with her where she was going to sing with the choir. Although I was not interested, she definitely had the right idea about how to find a lifelong partner for her. She was honest and she wanted someone who would fit in with her lifestyle. Her ability to be straightforward led me to give an honest answer without leading her on, which in turn led her to continue to search without wasting any extra time on me. When engaging in a conversation with someone you don't know very well, it's best to listen more than you talk. Try to resist the temptation to impress someone with your stories and your opinions. Empirical studies tell us that the partner who is willing to ask the most questions is the one who is most liked and is the one who learns more about their partner or date. Most of my life, I have been painfully shy, and I am definitely an introvert. Introverts have the natural innate gifts of being uncomfortable with small talk and also not wanting to monopolize the conversation or attention. Therefore, I have become fairly proficient at slipping past the superficial nature of most conversations and getting other people to do the heavy lifting of filling empty spaces with speech. And this is fairly easy to do because people like to talk about themselves. If you give them the opportunity to speak and express themselves, they will have a good experience and feel special while conversing with you. If you want to be perceived as interesting, be interested in them. If you want to be perceived as intelligent, we can take advice from Socrates, who reminds us to enter into every conversation from a curious, not knowing stance. As Socrates said, my intelligence comes from the fact that I know that I don't know. The utilization of open-ended questions encourages your date to reveal themselves and also eliminates their chance to answer with a simple yes or a no. Here's some examples. Number one, what would a perfect day look like to you? Number two, what gives you meaning and purpose? Number three, who is the biggest role model in your life? You can't answer any of those questions with a simple yes or no. Good questions should never turn into multiple choice questions. For example, don't ask, do you like to go out often or do you like quiet times at home? Don't give them an answer to attach to. It's better to ask what they like to do for fun or relaxation and then let them search for the answer. When listening to someone answer questions like these, you should be able to figure out what is important to them and who they are as a person. Be careful not to turn your questions into an interrogation. If your date discloses information about themselves, then yes, you can follow with your own self-disclosure. It is also important to note what type of questions your date will ask or doesn't ask, because it gives you an idea of what's important to them. If you become a good listener, then you can become an expert in the non-sequitur compliment. If someone shares some of the setbacks they experienced before reaching a goal, you can give them a non-sequitur compliment that lets them know that you not only have heard the content of the message, but also the feeling and the character of the person. Non-sequitur compliments from this example could include stuff like this. I admire your resilience when facing difficult circumstances. Or, I enjoy your passion when you talk about reaching your goals. Non-sequitur compliments are great because they make the other person feel heard, and understood. It reflects admiration for who they are rather than for what they did, and is a good way to show interest without being superficial or objectifying them. Again, a long time ago, I used to see Joyce Vidral at the gym on a regular basis. She's written about 30 books on fitness and relationships. And one thing I remember her telling me is that if you're going to compliment someone, you should make it very specific. It's not good enough to tell someone that they are pretty or that they are handsome. She said it's better to point out something more detailed, such as their eyes or hair. And there is empirical evidence to support this. And even also Mark Twain said, I can live for 2 weeks without food, but I can't live for 2 days without a good compliment. However, in the Me Too environment in which we live, specifically complimenting someone's physical attributes, it might step over somebody's boundaries. I'm not sure, it depends on each person, especially on a first date. If you're going to give a compliment, it must be sincere, and it must be delivered with confidence, or else it will sound awkward and come across as forced. If you receive a compliment, it is best to be gracious and say thank you rather than to explain why you don't deserve the compliment. So let me conclude with this. I believe life is lived in the moment and that nature always moves forward. If you want to find someone who is ready to seek their full potential and someone who has the confidence to give you the space you need to reach your full potential, then you need to be conscious of their words and actions. Be careful of people who live in the past. Be careful of people who talk too much about their exes and they don't take responsibility for their part in life and they blame other people. And be careful of people who seem to have this opinion that their destiny is written for them instead of by them. I am Joe Perroni from the Rise Above Project. Please subscribe and tell a friend. Thank you.